skip, since we have Director Turner here, to item 7.6, consideration of proposed formation of 8 local area plan advisory committees to support the Lake County 2050 update process. Director Turner.
Thank you. Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. Historically, Lake County has updated their local area plans one at a time because they're time intensive and demanding on staff resources. This time, Lake County 2050 is a more ambitious project. It includes an update of the general plan and all 8 local area plans at the same time. In December, the board established the General Plan Advisory Committee, which is a group of 15 from all over the county to oversee and make recommendations to the general plan draft, the draft local area plans, and the draft EIR. There are a number of issues that require robust discussion at a community planning area level. Because of that, the request before you today is to consider establishing one local area plan advisory committee per planning area. That would be the creation of 8 new committees that would review, discuss, consider the planning area specific items that could include modification of the planning area boundaries, modification of the community growth boundaries, and different land use issues that could come up. Those the advisory committee recommendations would then be brought to the General Plan Advisory Committee for their consideration. Staff recommends that these individual bodies be no larger than 9. And also in the staff report, there was a recommendation for specialties in each of these. Across all 8 would be a tribal representative and an environmental representative. And then it starts to sort of fine tune or customize per area plan based on if there's a municipal advisory council or 2 or none. Like the Rivieras has 4 HOAs but no advisory council. So that's where they start to shift a little bit. Kelseyville area plan has a membership specific to the ag industry, and then filled in with between 3 and 5 public members at large that would live within that planning area. Staff does recognize that this would create an additional burden, sorry, Johanna, in admin, as well as logistical management of the different meetings. So our goal is to synchronize these local area plan advisory council meetings as much into the existing timeline as possible. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Supervisor Pyska?
What do you think about the frequency of these meetings? And I'm guessing it's the duration of the 3-year project?
Correct. It would be less than that. We would need to, it's more like a 2-year term because it's specifically focused during the draft periods of the local area plan. So probably the next 2 years.
And frequency?
It's kind of going to depend on each individual planning area. Some may not have any recommendations of changes. Others might have a need for ongoing meetings. So we're going to have to feel that out without killing off staff.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at trying to recruit volunteers as we've got our advisory councils. Today we're seating an advisory council, but we have a lot of people that are interested in, and so I'm just hoping that we can kind of capture some of that
Let's start with 3 meetings and more if needed.
Okay.
The timeline for this, if the board does create them today, is I'd like to extend the period for collecting the applications until after that first kickoff meeting of the planning areas all through the middle of April. So bring it back to the board for appointments hopefully in May, because I think that the interest generated of those community meetings at first will also generate interest in participating in these advisory committees.
Yeah. I think if people are signing up, though, they'll probably want to understand this is going to be, it sounds like 3 meetings, but if it's potentially more, it'd be good information for them to have.
Indeed.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, appreciate you bringing this forward.
it's a lot of committees and a lot of people on these committees. So to the proposed structure, if I were to parse the Lakeport area plan, have an agricultural seat, I think designated would be appropriate. I guess I want to think outside the box a little bit, because this is a lot of cat herding in a lot of different areas, some of which have good infrastructure to hold meetings and gather input, some that don't have quite as good. And in the Lakeport area plan example, for example, I have a definite city mouse, country mouse kind of dynamic going on, so you're going to have to get feedback from different groups within that area. And just like with the General Plan Advisory Committee as a whole that we talked about, and then our regional advisory councils, there's some overhead, organizational with organizing these committees, then holding the meetings, noticing them if these are going to be Brown Act bodies, and I assume they are.
They are not. They are advisory committees gathered for a certain period of time for a specific purpose, and then they will be disbanded. They're not ongoing, and nor are they areas of specialization.
Okay, so
Similar to GPAC.
so these are proposed as time-limited ad hoc committees.
Exactly.
Okay. It's still a heavy lift. Compare and contrast with, say, a larger number of scoping meetings in various places within the area plans. You don't have a formal committee input process or people taking votes on recommendations. And maybe that's just my own naivete or unfamiliarity with what deliverables you want out of this process. But we end up having trouble recruiting. We have trouble getting people in the proper seats. There's another item on today's agenda where we're going to recategorize another person on a different committee. And but the end goal of this is just to solicit public input from as wide a swath as you can. So can you just explain to me why we have a General Plan Advisory Committee, we have a bunch of municipal advisory councils already set up to provide some regional input? Is there something in the general plan update process specific to the area plan updates that requires or rewards the formation of area plan specific advisory committees?
Yes, thank you for asking. So the General Plan Advisory Committee is overseeing quite a broad update. The concern that grew in me as I've been working on planning this project and overseeing its progress is that I don't want our Lake County 2050 to get to the final draft and not have the community buy-in because people don't feel that they've had enough time to really hash out the community vision for the next 20 years. We have 3 workshops per planning area, and the input is meant to be broader than the municipal area councils. They were a great place for our kickoff meetings to start, but we've always had the goal of going wider and getting greater participation, in which case that's why there's a position for the municipal area council within each, I call them LAPACs, but it's broader than that as well. And so this is an attempt to really get into the nuts and bolts of that community vision for that specific planning area for the next 20 years and not have it just be limited to what the town council thinks. Without that community buy-in, I would hate to think that Lake County 2050 would not have the synchronization and the granular detail and visioning that's required for it to be a valuable deliverable for the next 20 years.
Thank you for that. And I guess my immediate follow-up to that is if we're going to lock and load and follow this, I don't see a budget request with this. So is it your intention that you're going to absorb? Do you have bandwidth within your existing department or the existing funding for the general plan update to pull this off? Because again, this is a lot of cat herding, and if we need to support you or support these councils, help you obtain meeting space, help you advertise these meetings, or just to kind of track staff time in supporting this function. Because I think the General Plan Advisory Committee itself is a big lift, and you have a consultant helping with that. Is this included in the current contract with the consultant, or are you going to be shouldering this on yourself?
We will be shouldering this within our department. It is not part of the scope of work, and we're so early in the 3-year process that I'm trying to reserve any wiggle room in our budget for later when it becomes crucial.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Pyska?
I think this is a good move because in the past, if you've read the area plans, there was 12 people appointed that met monthly for sometimes years, and the heavy lift by volunteers. And so this is a modification of that. But I think we're still going to achieve that community visioning, but without putting that workload on the volunteers. So I think it's a worthwhile investment, and I have 3 that I got to deal with, work through. So I think it's going to be a busy time for all of us, but this is how we have to do it. I think this is going to be the better way to get that community-led engagement that that you might not receive at the municipal advisory councils.
Any further comments or questions regarding this item? Supervisor Green?
Just when we get closer to a motion, I am going to seek an agricultural seat.
Okay.
And just for clarity, would you then be removing one at-large position? Okay.
Seems to be the impact of the others of making those different choices. Did I hear please, CAO
Yes,
Parker.
Chair. Thank you. Director Turner, given the timeline that you just proposed with turnaround on the applications, we may need some assistance in the redaction efforts, given the number of applications, and continuing to do our day-to-day.
We have already been in conversation with admin staff to support that effort.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Be nice if we can automate that automatically.
Can't we just use a Sharpie? I mean, is that the old way of doing it? Maybe I'm showing my age.
Can be a request we ask for Adobe. Quick question. I know it says on there the folks that reside in the area, but the area plan doesn't always match the municipal advisory map. And would it be only people that live within the area? And I don't know if there's the possibility of some of the advisories not having people that live specifically in that area. I doubt that would be the case, but just wanted to check in for business owners and for those that are representative of the municipal advisory. They would all have to meet the requirement of residing in the area of the area plan.
If that be the will of the board, that is how I drafted it.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, and then last question is for the Lakeport one and for the Shoreline one, it includes at this moment in time the cities. Will those be carved out, or will residents of those 2 cities be eligible to put in an application?
There are a number of points during this overall Lake County 2050 process that the cities are included. This would not be one of them. They are not meant to be included in the planning area because the cities have their own community visioning process.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I figured that was the case. I know it's been discussed in the past, but currently the maps definitely overlap to show that it does offer all those areas. So that's perfect. Just wanted to be clear on that for when we get applications. There's nothing further. I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Please come up to the microphone or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, let's bring it back. And I think direction's been given. There's a change to the Lakeport one. Anything else, Supervisor Green?
No, just your last point. That's a good point. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, cities have their own general plans and their own update process. But in our county process, as we look at the area plans and the general plan as a whole for the county, do we not even examine anything within the city footprint? Because there's definitely some intersection of interest there affecting development, if nothing else. So are we drawing hard lines in the sand? Because if I do have a Lakeport City business owner with interest also in the county, where do we draw those lines? So I guess first question first, is this general plan update process exclusive to the unincorporated county territories?
It is.
All right, thank you.
And just
However, the line is the board's, to draw. So if you wanted to not exclude someone who had business interests in the unincorporated but lived in the city, that's it. This is fully up to the will of the board. This was just my first draft, my best suggestions. Typically, though, we are working closely with the cities on the countywide evacuation plan and the climate of vulnerability analysis. Those we are doing as regional. However, we have not spoken to the cities regarding any sort of overlap within the community visioning process.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but the cities will have the ability to provide input on the EIR as it gets all processed, just like they do currently if there is a project that is adjacent to their city limits.
They are welcome to provide any input they feel is appropriate.
Yeah, so I feel that as an agency of that type, that they already have the ability to provide input. They shouldn't be in the steering seat because it is not their area to control, but providing input will be available to them at one point or another. And so I think that to me is the right place for them to be.
So I guess my suggestion or clarification for a business owner is that when we're parsing those on the applications, if they do reside outside the area plan area, but they can identify on that application a business that is located within the area. I don't know how to indicate that especially, but I just want to make sure, this is in our Scotts Valley Advisory Council bylaws, so if somebody has a business interest in Scotts Valley and they want to serve on the council, they're eligible to do so. So I don't know if you need specific direction from us, but I think that clarification may be helpful. If any business owner within any of these area plans wants to apply, they can, but we're going to need some information about which business they're establishing eligibility with to make sure that that business interest lies within the area plan.
I can add those instructions in our press release that business owner membership, please indicate address of your business.
If there's consensus.
And I think that we should and would probably know the applicants and should be able to explain on our own when introducing who we would want to see on each one of those area plans. To describe, yes, they don't reside there, but they own a business. I think that's something that we can handle on our own and helping in the process.
This is 72 new applicants, so I am
your-
going to rely on your expertise.
I would just prefer that they live in the area. I think you want that experience of not just having a business, but residing in the area. And that's my preference. There's plenty of business owners, I think, that you could find.
Well, I would suggest, I guess, for the Lakeport area, I think that's the one that probably is impacted the most. I don't know. We'll see if there's a problem, but I would suggest most businesses are probably going to be within the area of the city, and that's already canceled out. But that doesn't mean that it cancels out all businesses, obviously, since there's businesses outside of the area.
So,
But I would agree, wherever you're going to be impacted is what I would like to see as the decision maker of assisting and advising on how that area plan should look. That way you know that it's a personal impact, not a business and financial impact only. These are long-term ramifications. So I would agree with you.
So I'll add, so on the UL Nice potential for that, can we move one of the at-larges to Worth and then put one UL, one Nice, because there's two different representatives for the area, if that makes sense?
oh yeah, so Worth would get two, one would be an Upper Lake and one would be a Nice.
Yeah, kind of like how you have Surth and Earth. They're the same type of thing, because Upper Lake and Nice are somewhat different, so that would help with there. And I assumed when you had ag at the end of the table, I assumed that they all were, and I was fine with that
It was actually just Kelseyville.
okay.
I didn't think about Lakeport, sorry about that. That's a good point.
But I'm fine with UL, because there's spots in Upper Lake and Nice, and then even in the shoreline where that can be filled with someone that's in ag as well.
Okay, so add an ag and take at-large down to 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I like it the way it's proposed at this point. And yeah, we're going to have to weed through all these applications, but I think it answers more questions for our community members at our advisory councils, as we did the GPAC. But this also gives us that opportunity to really get down and, my two, Lower Lake Action Committee Group and the Middletown Area Town Hall, just adding those extra folks and extra eyes on those things that need to be done. All the things that need to be updated on the area plan. Electronic signage, all the little things that have changed over the past 20 years.
Absolutely. Do you feel you have clear direction?
If I may just read it back.
Yeah, of course.
Upper Lake Nice is changing to have 2 members from Worth, 1 from Upper Lake, 1 from Nice, with the addition of an agricultural representative and 3 at large. Lakeport is changing to add 1 agriculture representative down to 4 at large. And the business owner must reside within the planning area, whether or not the business is located in that planning area.
And if I can just clarify that, I think everyone on the list would need to reside within the designated area plan, not
Yes.
just the business owners.
Right, okay.
That's mine, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got it.
just wanted to
Thank
make
you.
sure it wasn't just that one. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much for bringing this to us, and I think we're good.
You need a motion?
No, just direction to staff. We're going to create the committees at a later time because we're not,
I think we made GPAC by motion. If you wouldn't mind just making a motion to establish the 8 area.
let me
local area
check
plan.
with Mr. Guintavano just to make sure. Based on the fact that it does have proposed composition, is a motion to approve the creation of each one of these LAPACs, as it's been aptly named. Would that be appropriate within the confines of this agenda item?
Yes, and just for clarification for Director Turner, would there any changes to be made on the the shoreline area?
In the shoreline area, as far as municipal area councils, we have 1 membership position for SERTH and 1 for EARTH. So I think we're covered, and I did not receive any recommendations for amendments on that.
I think the only changes is the fact that the city limits are not available for membership within, is the only comments that were made.
So if at your board's option, the motion would be to establish the 8 local area plan advisory committees as outlined in the staff memo and the board memo, and with the revisions incorporated coming out of this, coming out of the discussion of this item. And direction to staff to advertise for the LAPAC vacancies.
Perfect. Thank you.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second?
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.